I'm in the studio today with Larissa Barlow, editor of the Banff Crag Canyon, and Hamish McLean, editor of the Canmore Leader. Hey guys, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Camara.
Thanks, Camara.
So let's first talk about some pretty awful news that took place in Banff over the weekend, last weekend. Tell us about that, Larissa.
There was early Sunday morning, about 1:45 a.m. There was a stabbing at the Dancing Sasquatch nightclub. One of the bouncers was stabbed a couple of times, and it was pretty gruesome from what I hear. And right after that happened, thankfully we have a really good bar watch system in this town, and everybody got on the radio, and all the bouncers from all the downtown bars ran out to try to find the suspects, and they did manage to grab a couple of people, and there have been at least one man has been charged with the stabbing incident. So he's going to be in court in Canmore in July, and there are other people scheduled to appear, so hopefully we'll have some resolution to this, because it's pretty scary, especially after there was all that news about gangs from Calgary coming. And while the police say this wasn't a gang related incident, it just sort of speaks to we can have big city problems. Sure. in a small town.
What's the condition of the bouncer?
He's in stable condition at the moment, so he's doing a lot better. Considering what happened, so and because of this, the club is planning to buy those hand wand metal detectors and use them on the weekend. So if you're planning on going to the nightclubs in town, prepare for a little bit extra longer line, as they're going to be searching people for knives.
And so do we know what the motive was, why this happened?
No, we don't really know what was going on. From what I understand, the man was being escorted out of the club because he was a bit too drunk. And, people have told me what they saw in the security footage is he was, acting fine and friendly and, giving people high fives, and it was no problem. And then all of a sudden he just turned around and began stabbing.
It was a Calgary man?
It was a Calgary man, yeah. So it's pretty strange, maybe just strange incident, one of those things that can sometimes happen. And that's, I'm sure more details will come out as we go along. But, sure. I think the main point is that the bouncer is doing all right now, and the club's going to be taking a few more precautions because of things like this.
Sure. And then you said that the local bouncers from around the other bars came out to kind of look for the guy. What about our police numbers? How many, what was their role in this event?
Well, they're hooked up to the bar watch system as well. So as soon as this happened, from what I understand, the one of the general managers at the Aurora is also on the fire department, and he has first aid training. So I think he ran over there to help the bouncer, and all of the other bouncers were in immediate contact with police who are on the bar watch system. So they heard right away, and everybody was just out. And I heard the cab company also got on to it, and they were also searching as well for the people that matched the description. And so it was sort of like everybody who was working at that time was out there trying to catch the people responsible.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking news. We just got back from a trip to Kelowna, and coming back to hear that news was pretty shocking.
Yeah, I mean, everybody always thinks it's very safe in Banff, and it is very safe. But you just have to be aware that things are going to happen sometimes, and you can't just go out assuming nothing is going to go wrong.
Sure. Yeah, you still have to be a little vigilant.
Right.
And then back to Canmore. Luckily, nothing too troublesome like that happened in Canmore. But what did you want to talk about today with us?
Well, just let's just maybe catch up a little bit with what the town is doing, sort of as a town, just before they take their break. A couple of big things, I guess. One was, just moving right along with this land use bylaw. But the interesting thing for me at council was watching Andrew Nickerson. He's our newly appointed president and CEO of Tourism Canmore. I think he had a bit of a victory. Tourism Canmore, until recently, was an executive director and a support staff, and now they've created about 5 positions, and they're expanding not only sort of organizationally or structurally that way, but they're moving into a bigger building. They're taking over the other half of the old food bank. The town of Canmore's given them a bit of a break to help them out with that. And yeah, it looks like we've got even on that as well, there's now they're sort of trying out a merger with the Canmore Economic Development Authority and really expanding. It's we hear about tourism in Canmore, or we have been talking about it for a little while now, and it looks like they're really starting to make that push. I want to use the word aggressively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
What are some of the things that they're pushing? Like, they have these new positions. What's the next step? What are we going to hear?
Well, that's the thing too, right? Is that the town has just passed their business plan, which is something that the sort of administration and council will use as a guiding document for the year. And one thing that they've already worked on, apparently, or are working on, a 2011 action is the rebranding of the town. And so even something like that will be interesting to see what they come up with. As much as I like do more, live more.
Oh, the
Canmore.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly that one, but they might come up with something more snappy or snappier.
They're going to give you a job now that you just came up with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. And it's the same thing as like there was the 30 days of Canmore going on, where it's a social media blitz kind of thing. And
30 days of Canmore.
Well, just great deals. You know what I mean. Yeah, they're really pushing for regional visitation right now, and hopefully it pays off, right? Like, this is Canmore's future. I think people say it's always been at least a part of Canmore tourism, but we are seeing that sort of strategy of promoting tourism is starting to have like tangible effects, which is kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, and you were saying regional tourism, and a one way to get some visitors is regional transit.
Woo!
So, tell us about what the newest, the news on that front is.
Well, the Premier was in town last week to officially launch the Regional Transit Commission, and he came with the news that the province is giving Banff and Canmore $900,000 to purchase some new buses.
Hybrid buses?
Yeah, for the Banff to Canmore route. So I think they had applied for some grants in order to get that done, and I think that was really contingent on whether we were going to have a Banff Canmore route. Because the original idea for regional transit was, let's get people to and from tourist hotspots.
Sure.
So and I think everybody wanted this Banff Canmore route. It was just a matter of getting the funding, and now we've got it. So now they can get some buses, and next year sometime, don't know exactly when, but the plan is to have a bus from Banff to Canmore.
So I remember the last time we spoke about this, the big debate was Canmore doesn't have stops, so we can't have regional transit.
Well, yeah, that was one of the issues a councillor had brought up. It's that, Banff has, transit in town. So when you get dropped off by the bus, you can then get on another bus to take you to your location. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. It's a year away. Maybe they'll figure out something and have a couple of stops in Canmore, or there'll be an interior one. Yeah,
I believe that Canmore has done sort of a transit study, which sort of showed them that they're going to need to get sort of between town transit before they get in town transit up and going, before it's remotely economically viable.
Sure.
They are I don't know if it would be related, but they are talking about a 10th Street tour bus, sort of a loading zone or stop in town. But yeah, it's I think it's big news for Canmore for sure. I think was it going to be 8 round trips a day?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. That was going to be the first year, maybe, and then it was going to expand as the years went on.
How late do you think they'll go until? Just regular hours, like 10 or 11 or something?
Not sure. It's still all up in the air. I think they're still even hiring someone to head the commission.
Okay, yeah.
I think they just wanted to make sure they were going to, be able to do this. But I'm thinking they're going to have early ones for people who work, because I think that was a big point. The town's really trying to push people to keep their cars at home and
Definitely.
find some other way to get to work if you live in Canmore and work in Banff.
We've talked about this a million times before. People aren't carpooling between Banff and Canmore, so hopefully they'll jump on a bus.
Yeah, and if there's an early bus, that's
Drop
great.
you off,
And then maybe one in some afternoon and late evening ones, and then because I'm sure that they're going to want ones for tourists kind of
Sure.
midday. But there's going to be a large local population. We're going to be able to make use of this. And I mean, if you're coming from Canmore to Banff, I mean, you can walk anywhere in Banff, so you don't really need a car.
Right. The two towns feel so separated sometimes, and as someone who goes to Canmore a lot but lives in Banff, you find, people, even though it's just a 20-minute drive, don't like to go between the two. So hopefully that opens it up a little bit and we can all enjoy what both towns have to offer.
Yeah, and I think that's something the Premier was mentioning when he was in town. It was, there's all of these opportunities for great projects to be put together if towns would just pool their resources. And there's such a disconnect sometimes between two towns that are very close. But in this case, it was years in the making. But in this case, everybody did manage to put the money together, and we got a greater benefit. We're going to have transit between Banff and Canmore, which I think many years ago was an unheard of concept.
Yeah. Great. Last thing quickly I want to talk about is cougars. Tell me about cougars.
Yes, the two cougars that have been causing a bit of a stir on Tunnel Mountain. There's been a warning in place for a couple of weeks now because there's two young cougars that have just been popping up, being curious and doing some interesting encounters with people. Nothing's been aggressive so far, so that's good. But because they have been spotted a lot, parks tranquilized them and caught them and have ear tagged and radio collared them, and they've since been released back onto the Tunnel Mountain area. But now Parks is going to be able to monitor them, and if they run into any trouble, they'll be able to maybe haze them out of the area, or at least just keep track of their movements if they need to close an area.
Sure, definitely. And if anybody wants to see a picture of a cougar, because they are so elusive, you can check out the Crag Canyon. There's a really cool picture in there from page 6.
Yeah, one of the parks guys took a picture as the cougar. One of the cougars was running out of those big wildlife tubes that they put the animals in when they capture them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, they put them in a big tube because when they're waking up after being tranquilized, they don't want to just leave them on the ground.
Sure. Sure.
When they're vulnerable, so they just sort of step back and open that, and then as you can see in the photo, the cougar just took off running.
Sure.
So, but it's a great picture.
Yeah.
It's fun to see.
Have you guys seen a cougar out in the wild?
No, never. That's probably a good thing, though.
Do you know that the lead up is me bragging about the time I saw a cougar?
I believe it was dark out that night. Some people weren't even sure that you saw a cougar.
Those people are mistaken. We saw a cougar and it was awesome.
Was it a large dog?
No, it was a real cougar. It was Doug, and it was amazing. And I will not have anyone devaluing that experience of mine.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it was awesome. As Morgan, the producer, is thumbs downing at me. She's been brainwashed by all those people who don't believe I saw one. But thanks, guys, for coming in. We'll talk again next week. And everybody go out and enjoy the long weekend, Canada Day.
Thanks, Camara.